intelligence in outer space. We're live.
Hello and welcome to the second part of our second episode. I believe, I think we call this the Forgotten. Um, this last session, the USS Dharma and her crew, they were out in the uncharted space um, between Federation space, the Shackleton Expanse, and let me see if I can show you guys exactly where we are again. Yep. So you guys were at Narendra Station before this. That's about here. Um, and all of this is Federation space right here. And after Narendra Station and your rescue mission at Xerxes, you were sent out into the uncharted space in this area, specifically to catalog strange stellar phenomenon, ion storms, neutron stars, so on and so forth. You've been out here for almost a month. That's when your sensors picked up um, a neutron star um, and a supernova that had occurred maybe less than I would say maybe about 20 years or so ago, 20 30 years or so ago. Um, and the supernova's external rim is about 1 light year away from the neutron star that we see within it. You guys spend some time cataloging the neutron star and the supernova before heading out from this sector of space. Um, along along your journey, you came across this strange spaceship slash space station that pretty much looked like a spindle, a top, um, out here in the middle of nowhere. It seemed to be caught in the gravitational pull of a large red giant star. Um, Captain Nobunaga made a executive decision to inform his team. There was radiation detected on the external surfaces of this spaceship's starship, um, so you couldn't actually beam aboard. So you took the runabout radars to the alien space station, did a few flybys to get a better understanding of its structure before flying to the docking port, where the pilot, Jackie Makirki, did an excellent job of docking, and then your engineer was able to get the airlocks open, um, even though the ship is doesn't seem to have its power systems online. Um, it has basic systems, that is things like artificial gravity, artificial uh, like life support systems, the basics. But uh, uh, things like doors, um, lights, etc., are all powered down. Um, you take some time to explore the corridors of this starship, um, and find that pretty much everything is powered down. There are multiple computer consoles. You are not able to power them on. Also, strangely, during your uh, what do you say, sensor sweeps of this spaceship, you found there were and uh, uh, large bio readings um, of unknown origin. And once you were on the spaceship, your readings were confirmed, and the readings seemed to be behind a large door. Your medical officer Stalek did some additional sensor sweeps and scientific deduction using his tools, and was able to get a um, a good theory that there seemed to be a forest behind these closed doors. Based on all the information you had, you guys thought it would be safe to open the doors and take a look at the center of the ship, find out who or what is running the ship, and see if you can set it back on course or find a way to save itself from getting destroyed into the star into which it's being pulled. Um, that's where we left off last session when you guys had just opened the door um, and stepped into the ship. Um, as soon as you guys had opened the door, um, the forest um, basically it overwhelmed you from a perspective of your senses. The smells kind of took you by surprise. Living for all these months on a starship, which is kind of a what do you say uh,
A sterile environment.
sterile environment. You're now exposed to this like a biosphere, complete with like smells, scents, tastes, and sounds. Um, so you guys kind of try to kind of gather yourselves and um, uh, you know um, regain control of your senses. Most of you people, except your engineer boss Hog, um, uh, kind of kind of got overwhelmed. Um, and at this point, um, Lyra, the science officer, has found a general direction you guys need to go in to get to the center of the ship, which is pointed by the red arrow. Boss has kind of run off in the direction of the pink arrow, talking about talking about the hunt. That's where we last left off. Um, it's now open for you guys to discuss and roleplay.
Am I still playing Lyra at this point?
Yes,
All right.
Tet will be back next session. For this one more session, you'll be playing both Lyra and Salak.
Okay.
Guess I'll start off the opening scene with uh, running through the woods, apparently tracking something. Whoever's going to give chase. He's not too terribly far away, but it's enough, I guess, you notice that he's gone. But he just appears to be hunkered down low and like crouched close to the ground, and appears to be following some kind of tracks or something that he's found. He's semi oblivious to anything else going on, so stop for a minute and look around, look at the trees, and just looks like he's about ready to keep going.
Salas is going to look to everybody else and go,
I'm
so
sprinting
should we...
after him. Ensign Hog, where are you going? And sprint after.
Yeah, Stalik is following.
Salas is gonna... Yeah, Salas is gonna stand and also... And Lyra will be like, but we have to get... Okay, and follow as well.
I don't know. I know you say I saw tracks, so I don't know how you want to continue pursuing. Once I hear my name, I'll just kind of like shock a little bit and look back to you, and then look back down to the ground, kind of pondering if I've lost my quarry or.
Stalik was going to do something. What was that?
Hold on one second.
Sure.
So, Zypher, we talked. He said he missed some things. I just wanted to make sure. I did say stuff about the plants and that they were odd. They seemed to be like absorbing the area. So as Stalik runs after, he says, "Don't forget, we do not know what could be here. Officer Renan. As I
Understood.
assume he's who's in front.
Mhm. Understood, but we can't just let Hog run wild.
Yep, and Stalak nods as he's following.
Boss, you do see tracks, but they're not from your hunting time. There's not something big. It's um, for lack of a better word, it could be something as large as a ferret that seems to be kind of might have moved to this area using the underbush as its cover while looking for food or uh, something of that nature.
We haven't encountered any other life forms though, other than plants and.
So far, not yet. You guys are just at the cusp of the forest. The door might be, I would say about less than 10 meters away. Um, you running in that direction would be the first true foray into the forest.
Okay. So once he Renan calls out his name, he'll stop, look at him, then look back down to the ground, and then he'll look around and not really begrudgingly, just gradually, just snap back, and he looks and tries to regain his composure. It's just like going, this place is captivating. Just trying to locate some kind of native species that I might have found, but the tracks just carry on too far. I start wandering around again, looking, and doesn't really seem displeased, but just really distracted, kind of darty, real, not almost borderline nervous looking. Just like, oh, but I digress. Have we made any progress? Where are we?
And Lyra nods and she points off in the direction. She goes, the center is that way.
Best we head that way then.
Ensign Hog, are you going to be all right here?
He looks almost insulted by your words, but at the same time, he's still kind of eyed a little bit, just uneasy. He's like, oh, I'm fine. I'll be more than fine. I was just hoping to locate one of the native wildlife. Perhaps Stalak could gain a better understanding of what we're up against.
Yeah, and Stalak says, that is quite possible, and he pulls out his tricorder, and he actually is going to scan Boss.
Okay, go for it. You can make a reason plus medicine or insight plus with the task difficulty of 1. And you will have focus on this one of xenobiology.
All right. Oh, yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. Trying to roll with my sheet.
Oh, no, click on it. Okay.
Yeah. So, reason, you said?
Yeah, insight or reason, whichever is higher, plus medicine. Focus applies, and task difficulty is 1.
Oh, that is a great start. Here we go.
Let the games begin, you greasy little pig.
Great. Now we're going to make
So-
wrestling hog jokes all day.
So yeah, so Stalak just is slowly moving forward, and he's trying to get closer and closer to get the scan off, and he can't quite get a reading, and then I don't know, he just kind of stops and he's still trying. He's kind of continuing his scans.
Could be this radiation that the plants is eating.
So, Stalik, you believe that you have found a reason why boss may be acting under duress, um, and you proceed to um, apply a hypo spray, as I've sent you the whispers.
All right. Oh. So, and I assume that it doesn't work because of that.
No.
Yeah, so Stalik pulls out his hypo spray and walks forward, sprays it in Boss's face. He kind of looks around and says, "I believe this to be a simple allergic reaction," and then like gives it one more little spritz as the what the dosage is required, and as he sees Boss breathing it in, and he's waiting for the nervousness to stop and the ticking to go away, it just doesn't. And then everyone can see Stalik kind of fiddling with his hyper spray.
Boss, you basically now suffer an allergic reaction from the hypo spray, an additional one. While your overwhelmed senses with respect to the forest and tracks have subsided, you now seem to be itchy all over.
Oh, I'm definitely protesting on that. What are you doing? Get out of my face. I don't need that. I'm naturally inherently. Look, I told you I feel fine. Start scratching. Kind of wriggling in my suit. I'll be fine. Let's carry on.
Cool. So you now have the trait itchy skin on you. Perfect. So you guys are going in the direction of the red arrow?
Say that again.
You guys are going in the direction of the red arrow?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we change the scene. So you guys are walking deeper into the forest at this point, based on the direction that Lyra has determined towards of the disc. The forest is getting. It has, you know, it has a very interesting look and feel to it. It's while everything is natural around you, at the same time you also get the sense that it is unnatural, right? It's like walking into a large, a humongous greenhouse or arboretum versus like walking into an actual, right? Um, while the jungle is wild and you get the sense that nature is in complete control, here you kind of sense that, you know, this forest has been put together. Um, uh, it's taken care of. Um, as you walk deeper into the forest, once in a while your foot kind of sinks deeper into the mud. There are sort of undergrowth, lots of vines, various, you know, amazing, interesting looking plants and flowers and trees. And they all seem to be well taken care of. Um, there is death and decay also, like there's dead plants, dead leaves, but even that of maintenance to it. Like it's there, it's like part of an environment or a biome that's self-sustaining but also controlled. Um, Once in a while, you hear like buzzing of insects or what seems like buzzing of mechanical in nature. Sometimes you hear like a kind of a whirring noise, little in the distance. You like bird like analogs, right? Like you don't see any birds, but you can hear them like kind of cooing in the distance. There seems to be um, like insect life. You can hear the various like chirps and trilling and all that sort of stuff. As you continue to walk, I want all of you to make an insight plus security check.
Oh, okay.
Is it task difficulty 1?
Task difficulty 1. Yes.
Would Lyra's botany help at all, or
Yes, her botany.
okay?
Momentum. Oh yeah, how much of that do we have?
And one for Sal's.
Yep. Nope, I failed.
Perfect. So you guys are just walking in, deeper into the forest, and Salus, you start sensing um, some kind of movement underneath um, the underbush, um, and before you know it, you seem to into something underneath.
Oh, holy shit!
You don't know what it is, but before you know it, you can feel that this thing has starting is you kind of stepped into what feels like a bowl, um, and then your feet kind of start to sink in, and next thing like a clam around your feet and your like up to your like thighs that start to like close in on you. um, I want you to make a melee attack. This is an opposed check. um, so it's melee with task difficulty. It's already set to 1, so just roll your melee attack.
Vegetarian antlion.
That's the same as any other roll, right? It's 2d20.
Yeah, just do a melee attack. Yeah, because
I
when you're
don't have any
doing
fighting focus.
perfect,
Oh,
and you got 1 success. Yes. And
Yes.
let's see. So you succeed and the plant succeed. Both of you are like also have the same amount of successes. um, Salus, you are able to kind of um, step out of the plant, but you're not able to step completely away from it. You're no longer inside the clam-like, um, uh, uh, the clam-like face of the plant, but you are very close to it at this point.
So, Salus will speak up and she'll go, Stalik, I think I've found your flora? I'm not sure.
Flora.
No, but she is actually not sure. She's not sure if this is a plant or an animal.
Yeah, no. So Stalik says without turning, Flora, and then like slowly turns.
So this thing's not attacking with any noise. It's just like a response, kind of like a Venus flytrap, where it just it automatically shuts and reacts. Okay,
Exactly.
okay.
So you guys get the sense that as you're walking through the forest, Salus was a little distracted with something else and didn't quite see what she stepped in. And before she knew it, she found this thing kind of jumping around her legs, and she was able to get out of the way just in time.
Yes, but it is immobile, correct?
It is immobile, but it is right next to her at this point. Does anybody else do anything to react, or
Yeah, Stalik would try to pull her back.
Okay, so I want you, Stalik, to do a daring plus security task. T2.
All right. Well, I'm gonna use 3 momentum.
Okay, so you're going to add to the threat pool.
Or no, not 3 momentum. Sorry, I'm gonna use 3. Yeah, no. Don't we have momentum?
Yeah, we have
No,
2.
at this.
We have
You
at
have-
least 1. I got 1.
Yeah, no, 2 people succeeded by 1 extra success during that earlier test.
Oh
So I
yes,
can
sorry
use-
about that. I missed
So
that.
we had 2 momentum at this
Who's
time.
that? Two. You have
Okay,
two
so I can use 1.
to get 1 die.
Yeah, and I don't know. So I don't know how high 8 threat is. So I don't know if I should do that. I'll just try to do it with this.
This is going to be daring and security.
I'll whip my phaser out and point at the plant, since I'm assuming we're pretty much aware this is going on at this point.
I wonder if I could pinch the plant instead.
Plants
The
don't
plant
have
has nerves.
Yeah, it doesn't have a central
No.
nervous system.
Yeah.
I've done extensive research. I know how to book and pinch plants.
Nice. So
Nice.
you are able to get Salus out of the way. So you kind of.
Yeah, so he sees the plant and makes a quick assessment. Like no point in attacking it when it can't move. Get Salus to safety. So it's just like a quick yank by the collar, and Salus may even like fall on her butt. But he's just like kind of pulling her back very quickly by the collar.
Okay. Renan, what you wanted that you would like to do?
I'm not shooting yet because I mean it's right. It's not. Is it actively attacking us now at this point? I mean, it's just kind of sitting
No,
there.
the
isn't it?
moment you kind of what you saw would be this thing kind of almost clamping down on Salus, and then when she stepped out, it kind of opened up again, and it's you almost don't see it, but you know in the general direction where it was, right? So it's almost in because it's think of it like a plant that kind of steps out, tries to grab something, and then kind of shuffle back into its undergrowth. But it's not like a mobile plant. It's not like a animal plant. You know what I mean?
Seems like something a botanist should do a quick study of. Also seems like something we should watch out for going forward.
Lyra will, from a safe distance, study it, seeing that she has.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So
When Renan draws his phaser, boss, that's what he'll do. He'll draw his hand phaser, but he'll immediately start looking at the ground around him. Look for furthermore, because it might be in a minefield.
okay.
And it being alien plant, can Stalik just assist Salus?
Or Lyra.
Or is it Lyra or
Lyra's the botanist, I think.
Yeah, she's the botanist. You will not have any focuses really from medicine to assist with this one.
Okay.
So, Lira, go ahead, um, roll a science plus reason, and you have focus for this,
Yep.
and it'll be a task difficulty 1.
Well, cool.
Oh, awesome. Um, so yeah, Lira, you see that this plant is actually very much like um, what can be referred to as a Venus flytrap, but it's a very alien-looking Venus flytrap. Venus flytraps of old in Earth's past were smaller and they were mainly meant to trap flies. This one is pretty big. You are able to make out its like its general size, which is as big as the token in front of you. You're also able to make out that its entire clam and the supporting stem are pretty strong. They're strong enough to kind of get an average sized human in there, um, suffocate them and crush them. Um, it is definitely native to this. It matches, its biosignatures match with everything else around in this forest.
So Lyra will scan it, and then she'll go, "Well, it's not alien to the ship. This is probably just where it grew. It's very the the Earth classification that includes pitcher plants and Venus flytraps."
What would you guys like to do with that information now?
It's rather large for a Venus flytrap, isn't it?
My thoughts exactly. Wonder if this thing, some manner of mutation, or if it was engineered to be this large.
Certainly in this kind of environment it couldn't survive without the right kind of prey to eat. You had to be about our size, or at least a decently sized animal for it to be worthwhile.
Yes, else it would have starved to death by now.
And yet we haven't seen any real animals.
My concerns now are for the crew. Hopefully they never became a food source for the creature.
We must be cautious in proceeding. Watch for these things going forward. Is there any way one of our scanners could be programmed to maybe pick up signatures like this one?
And I'm guessing Lyra, being the botanist, would be the one who would go, "Perhaps would anyone be willing to give up their tricorder to me?"
I would.
Sounds like a folly task, if you ask me. Trying to set a tricorder to detect a signature of chlorophyll. Load the tricorder, in my opinion.
Perhaps not chlorophyll, but perhaps the substance that and she does finger quotes, mouth secretes. Pitcher plants and Venus flytraps both secrete a very specific plant saliva, if you will, that allows them to digest what they capture.
Not a bad. Though I'm not too adverse in the fields of biochemistry.
Okay, so Lyra, you go ahead and make a science plus control task on your tricorder to start detecting for more of these alien human. It would be a task difficulty 1, science plus control. and your focus will continue to apply because of botany.
Also, Swab, you should do a challenge die real quick since you spent a momentum on your last task.
Did you say me?
Yeah, the last one that you had where you
Didn't
pulled
I
back.
fail though?
No, you passed.
Oh no, I did pass. Yeah, never mind. Oops.
Plus Hog's polite way of saying he's not going to give his tricorder, by the way.
Renan's
Cool.
not using his
So
anyway.
yeah, Lyra's got Drinan's
Baller.
tricorder. And just give me a minute. So that was, so you have 2, and then you generated 1 more, correct?
We should
But I
have
spent
3 right now, and then
Oh,
that
no.
1 would give us 4 total. My understanding of how we've gone.
Yep, 4 total. So yeah, so Lyra, as soon as you finish programming your tricorder, you get indications of a fly trap there and a fly trap there in front of you.
Woo!
And Lyra looks down at it and goes, well, in the best situation, of course, they could be mobile. It could be worse. And she points the other 2 out.
By the way, Zypher, we gain a point of threat from that roll as well. The challenge roll, because it was in effect.
It was in effect.
Yep.
Okay, so now you guys know what is out there. What would you like to do?
Perceive. I would suggest you not stand there. Well, since we know where these things are now, I think we should continue proceeding, but avoid them as best as possible. No need to destroy them. They're just doing what is in their nature.
And it's not like they can chase us.
Precisely.
Perhaps we can trigger the closest one while it's busy eating a rock or something. We can move on.
Are we able
Is
to
there
just
a way that
proceed
we could
past
just go
it?
up?
Yeah, that's my thinking. If we could just go like, I don't know if these are actual like paths between them we could use while staying on.
Mm-hmm.
I would
Yeah,
just
so
do that.
it's pretty much an open jungle. So yes, you could. Now that you know where they are situated, you still know you have to go in this direction.
Yeah, if we can avoid them, let's just avoid them.
Yeah, you need to go in this direction. So yeah, you guys want to avoid them, and you're not going to attack them, correct?
No.
Okay.
No reason.
Nope. But Stalik is looking for any plants, especially if other people are looking out for the path, for anything that's medical related with this tricorder as they're moving. So thinks that he may be able to use, like, get samples at least.
Sure.
You said they absorb radiation. I mean,
yes.
like there's
Yes. So, as you guys are going through this area where I marked the red spot, on these trees, Starlight, you see that what it looks like. The best reference that you have is like a grand oak that's in the middle of this forest, and on the like an oak, there are lots of bioluminescent fungi. Your tricorder was already when it ran various sensor tests on this forest, and when you kind of made a determination about the radiation levels dropping, it is kind of already set up to detect some of these bioluminescent fungi. So you see it. Go ahead and make um, and a reason plus medicine check of task difficulty 2.
You said control
No,
medicine?
reason plus medicine.
Reason
Yeah,
medicine. And it was 2.
2. Yes,
I'm gonna use.
sure, go for it.
And do I have a focus?
No, not for this one.
Okay. Well,
Oh, perfect. So you have 2. You needed 2. You got a complication as well. Okay, so give me a moment.
And you challenge your die.
yep. Clicking in there. Ugh. I'm so sorry.
Generated 4 threat and fucking 3 rolls.
Threat's good though, right? We want that.
You're balling. Oh yeah.
The more threatening it is, the better it is.
Yeah.
Enemy capital ship blows this one up.
Perfect.
Why are the
So
Klingons
Stalek,
here?
as you are closer now to this oak. We can just kind of move this away. And do you have this? So that over here. You get a lot of this bioluminescent fungi. You see that its internal cell structure is set up to consume ambient radiation and actually use part of it to feed itself, and then part of it is used for bioluminescence. You are able to take a few samples for later study, maybe figure out how this fungi works, and maybe use that of like you know what do you say, like um, tools for combating radiation poisoning or absorbing radiation, right? There are many applications. Fungi like this can be used in starships or freighters out in space. You just have to figure out how to kind of recreate it, maybe in a more sterile and figure out other uses for it. But you have right now with you better understanding of how the fungi works and multiple samples that you can then later study in the lab. However, when you're there in that area, um, you suddenly start feeling vines start wrapping around your, and it starts kind of um, wrapping around your ankles, and it's now starting to go up your calves, your knees, up your thighs, and it seems to be proceeding to wrap around you. I
And
want you
what
to.
is this?
It's like a wine, a jungle wine. Think of it more like,
Gotcha.
yeah, like it's very different from the other things that you detected, but this one is more like a wine that's starting to wrap around you, starting to climb up your body. I want you to make a straight up melee roll to see if you can get away from this, while this thing will also roll its melee.
Okay, so just a regular attack, not the nerve pinch, right?
Mm-hmm. Just a regular attack.
Okay. Which is melee.
Ooh.
Oh no.
It did not succeed.
It did not succeed, but roll yours anyway to see.
Did.
Perfect. While it did not succeed in wrapping itself around you, you were able to basically, in response, get away from it. So how does that look?
I think it at some as the vine's working its way around it, it gives just a little bit, and Stalik was probably tugging the entire time. So the moment it did like loosen up just a little bit, he slips out, and everyone just sees Stalik like first bear crawls for probably 2 or 3 steps, and then gets up and runs back, and he says, "More plants." And he points towards the vines that are, you know, up, like going back up into itself.
How does everybody react to this?
Lyra is gonna get just close enough to scan it to see if it, like, scan the whole, like, as far as she can go on these vines, and see if it of this, like, of that plant saliva that is used to, like, to digest things, or if it's just like grabbing stuff so that other things can eat it.
Sure. So before you roll a check, you quickly see the way it was behaving, that this one doesn't seem to secrete any sort of times. I want you to, before you roll your actual, I want you to first try and find it. So this would be an insight plus security of difficulty 2.
And I can still use botany.
Not for this one, because you're trying to first just find it.
Okay. We have 3, so I'm going to use one of our momentum.
Okay.
What was it again? It's what, an insight?
Insight plus security, no focus, and task difficulty of 2.
There we go.
Awesome. So you are easily able to
There we go.
see it. It is it's completely along this tree. You also see that its structure is multiple vines that are they kind of concentrate on this large bulb like body, and the bulb like body is what is attached to the tree, and from there all the vines emanate and kind of wrap around the tree, hang down the tree. Would you like to use that extra momentum to get more of this plant?
Yes.
Cool. You know that bulbous part, as you kind of take some time to take a look at it and look at your sensor reading, that is using some sticky substance, pretty much like sap, that is being used to attach itself to the tree. You also see that it is attached itself to larger trees. You get the sense that this thing is a pretty powerful vine, and it cannot hold itself or wrap itself around weaker or younger saplings or trees. So in the forest, anything that looks like a large oak, or like a uh, um, like a red tree or some large tree, that would be where you would find this kind of a vine, most probably.
So it's not like, is it parasitic in any way? Is it like rooted into the tree, or is it just like stuck to the tree and growing off of it?
It is stuck to the tree and growing off of it. You also using the tree for some of its nutrients, but not all of it. It's kind of um, uh, it's like it has its own. The wines do have this chlorophyll, and you guys would remember that the chlorophyll in forest is mainly light to dark bluish, not the usual green that you're used to seeing. So yeah, so the vines do have some chlorophyll on them. So uses a tree for some of its um, uh, nutrients. Most probably things like water and um, you know because the bulbous part does look like a root. So think of it as a root that's attached to a tree that then has its leaves that look like vines.
So Elira will she'll be mostly to herself, and just anybody who hears it. And she goes, parasitic plant. It's rather large for being parasite. Also, its vines they look intensely strong. And she turns to Stalik and she goes, if it had been anyone but you, I doubt they would have escaped.
Vulcans are naturally strong. You are probably right. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
It was muted. What is that? Can you say that again?
He says, Vulcans are quite strong. You are probably right.
Okay. What would you guys like to do next?
Boss has been standing there surveying it. He's between having recently been distracted, now itchy. He's kind of got a little hint of paranoid to him. He's scratching his chin with his hand phaser, basically pointing down, kind of like Clint Eastwood did that in Gran Torino, where he did the finger from the one guy to the one guy to the one guy. He's basically doing the meditation of making sure he knows where everything is. He's basically starting to look around everywhere now. This guy, you got him on the ground, you got him up in the trees.
This entire place poses a danger. We must remain vigilant.
Well, with the tricorder keeping track of the large fly traps, as well as the strength of these vines limiting this parasitic to much larger trees, if we keep our distance.
Disturbs me that we hear all these bugs, but I don't think any of us have been bitten by any yet, have we?
Perhaps they're just not interested. Perhaps more interested in... And she kind of gestures around at the plants.
Other than these, I don't think we've seen anything alive.
Which confuses me, because clearly these things must feed on something that's rather large.
Have we seen anything like butterflies or bugs or anything like that?
I've seen bugs.
You can hear the bugs around you. There is like the standard insect background noise in a forest, and like what I'm playing on the audio right now, so that is there. But that's the not sure if these things don't seem like, at least these big plants don't seem like they could just survive off bugs.
Yeah, because that's what's getting me is if we actually seen any kind of insects or flapping birds or anything, because my first thoughts is it's all environmental sounds, like pre-programmed maybe. I'm thinking from a technical aspect. If I haven't seen a bird or a bug, if you stand long enough, you're bound to get a bug up the nose. Yeah.
Silas kind of looks to Boss and she goes, well, if you're feeling a little paranoid, I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's a reason this thing is headed into the star.
I'll just be glad when we find something that we can talk to. Scratching.
So while you guys are discussing, Swamp, are you there?
Something must be up with his connection.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, he seems to be dropping in and out. Yeah, if you're talking, Swamp, we can't hear you. Maybe. So are discussing all these theories about how these plants could um, um, survive here and why you see no um, animals. Um, I think since Swamp is having internet connection,
I'm here.
okay. I've sent you a couple of private messages, so you can discuss that um, whenever you feel like. Um, the rest of the group is concerned survive, and there are no animals around, and they do seem like some of them at least seem carnivorous in nature.
How long ago did it seem like this ship was hit? Could we tell, or could Stalik discern that in any way? Or can I roll?
I thought he
There
said-
was no battle damage on the outside. It looked like it had just been powered off on its own.
Mm-hmm.
No,
I thought Cypher made a reference about 20 or 40 years that the
Yes.
ion storm started.
yes, exactly. You guys might have missed it, or
No,
so when it did,
I was just making sure that it was the same one that would have hit them. Like that's what makes the most sense, right?
same
Or
one.
unless I'm thinking. Sorry, just yeah. Maybe I do need you to explain.
Oh yeah. So just to give you a quick refresher, before you guys docked, when you went, you did a couple of sorties around the spaceship. You did see there was on the spaceship, and I believe one of you did a check, and it was just uh, ion storm debris that had hit the ship. You also remember that on the external part of the ship there was a lot of radiation, and that's why when you got close to it, your communication back with the Dharma was almost cut off. Um, you made a determination through your medicine check that the radiation would not be fatal if too much time in on this spaceship, and so far you have not. When you guys got in to the ship, the radiation levels dropped a bit, but when you got into the forest, the radiation levels dropped significantly. That's when, as part of Stalek's general sensor sweep of this entire forest, that's when you found out these bioluminescent fungi that eats the radiation, mm, and uses it as food. To answer your question as to how long, you get the sense of uh, maybe a decade or more. Nothing too recent, as like definitely more than a decade.
Yeah, I was taking a logic leap because we were the ion storm or whatever that we were surveying initially out of the ship. You said that had been ongoing for about 20 years, I thought.
Yes, so you do know that when the supernova roughly occurred about 20 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And but the expansion of the supernova gases is roughly about a light year in size from where the neutron star is roughly at.
Yeah. So that's why I was taking the logic leap was roughly 20 years ago. This thing probably got hit and then went wherever.
So Stalik says, if this ship was hit with emits radiation 15 to 20 years ago, it would have killed all the animals. But it does seem, as we walk further inward, there is less radiation, which could mean there are animals. And he kind of looks at everyone, hoping they see his logic.
So Silas speaks up and she goes, so the further we go in, likely there will be animals, which also means the more likely there will be more of these.
He says, correct, but also people.
Till I can find the ship's engines and diagnose the severity of the damage, this all could just be one freak accident for all we know. Best we advise caution and pray that these mutations and other discoveries don't grow in severity.
And Lyra starts to go on ahead, and she goes, "Well, we're never gonna make it just standing here."
And as you guys are discussing this about radiation, animals, and carnivores, you guys see lights in the distance. Right about, let's see if I can pin it. In that area, there are lights, and you hear what seems like mechanical buzzing, twittering, and the lights seem erratic, like they kind of first move in this direction, then they kind of move in that direction, and they kind of whiz away.
Mechanical and buzzing. Doesn't sound like cicadas, does it?
It is unclear at this point, but the lights definitely seem inorganic.
While keeping an eye on the tricorder for any more of these Venus flytrap things, and also keeping an eye out around her to make sure that she doesn't get too close to any rather large trees, she is going to try to make her way, or Lyra is going to try to make her way over to. If anybody follows, they can
Yes.
follow, but she's going to go ahead.
And Boss is going to start trying to scan for power sources in case these are mechanical.
Okay.
They could be scrub bots, attendee bots. Like what do they call those things? The battery operated things on the ground, the Zumbas or Roombas.
The Roombas.
Yeah, all I can think of is a bunch of those bumping into each other.
Bunch of flying Zumbas, as they're called now.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you guys start kind of trekking slowly, methodically towards where the lights were appearing, making sure that you keep an eye out for any more flora. You enter what seems to be deeper into the forest, continuing to be deeper in the forest. There are now much larger trees around you, and the image is representative. You guys see this kind of light in the distance in this part of the image, or at least there's a shine to the image.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you guys definitely see the lights coming from there, and they continue to be flitting around. You know that you're walking in the right direction. I want you all to make insight plus security checks, difficulty 2 this time. The trees are much closer to each other. The underbush is definitely much thicker in this area. Plus, you guys are keeping an eye on the lights and keeping an eye on your surroundings. So, task difficulty 2 for everyone.
I want to spend one of the pool's momentum before anybody else does.
Okay.
Same.
There are 2 in them. So, okay. So boss goes first. You can use 1. Insight plus security, task difficulty 2.
I have athletics if it's a physical response to something. I.e. stepping in, or i.e. something's coming out to get me.
Yeah, sure. Use that as a focus.
Fantastic.
What's up? I don't need your die.
Awesome.
Filling up the
awesome.
momentum pool. Make sure you roll your challenge today,
Awesome.
boss.
Yeah, I'll bank the other 2, and then I'll roll.
So we got 3. Fuck, we have...
So 4 now.
Based off of what the response is, I might spend that to mission.
Okay.
I'll bank it.
I'm gonna use one of our newly gained momentums at this.
Okay. Go for it, Renan. Renan, before you do, let me just check something for you. No. Go ahead.
Oh my
Oof.
god.
Amazing.
Outrageous.
So you guys have 5 now in the momentum pool. So Salus and Lyra, you're up.
Yep,
Guys
and
can
Lyra's
use.
going to spend a momentum.
Sorry, come again.
Lyra's going to spend a momentum. It's security and... Is it security?
Insight and security.
Okay.
How much momentum do we have after Lyra spending 1?
It would be 6 momentum.
6 right now?
Does botany
Yes.
apply again?
Yes, botany does apply.
You can use those to Ghost, create an advantage. Or-
Yeah, because we're. I mean, it's. Oh.
Or you could create an advantage for one of us, or create a problem for whatever's trying to affect us.
I mean, I think we're all passing is the thing.
Nice.
I'm gonna roll her challenge dice before I do.
Thread up 1. It's fine.
So that's a threat as well. Nice. Okay.
So you got 5 momentum now.
And
5 momentum.
Silas is also going to spend a momentum.
4.
Go for it.
I don't think she has any. No. Well, unless evasive action works.
Not yet.
That's in a ship.
Yeah, but it could also be I evaded the thing.
My body is a
I'm
ship.
just gonna swerve.
Yeah, you
Oh!
Yeah, see? I knew it.
Ooh.
This is why Silas doesn't want to be here.
Perfect. I'm gonna while this happens, I want to do kind of Rinan listening to what not what boss said, what Ian said. Would you like to use your momentum to create an advantage?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I want you to roll a daring plus security with task difficulty.
Task difficulty what?
2.
Okay, so I will spend another momentum. So I get
Okay.
3 die.
Beautiful. So, Rinan, what you
2 momentum back.
what you see is while you guys are keeping an eye out on the trees around you and on the you know the bushes, and Salis is a little out of her element, and she walks a little ahead of the group without realizing what she's doing. Next thing she knows, she actually has this wine starting to you are able to make a successful action to assist. How does that look?
And do I completely free her from being pulled by the vines, essentially, or?
Yes,
Okay.
you're able to create an advantage and assist her successfully. So how does that look?
So, as I see the vines are starting to encroach on her, I snap into action. Salis, and run up, grab her throw one arm around her abdomen and just pick her off the ground and yank her back, basically. Just pulling away. Goodness, that was
Excellent.
close.
As you pull her back, she goes, "This is why I didn't want to leave the ship." But thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, and Salis, as he pulls you back, you see that the vines had kind of wrapped around your ankle and were working their way up your calves. And he pulls you back just in time before they could get a good stranglehold on your leg. And the vines then slowly recede away as soon as you're pulled back. In the meantime, the lights continue to flit about in the distance. Your success checks to keep an eye out on your surroundings, you're quickly able to see that there are a bunch of more vines in that area. Um, you're able to kind of plot a path this way. Anything else you guys would like to do?
Yeah,
If
are there
someone else, go ahead.
are those things? How near are they getting?
The
The
lights,
buzzing, yeah, the lights and the.
they are pretty near. You get the sense that if you walk past these trees, maybe I would say 100, 200 feet, and if you get past these trees, you get the sense that the whatever light should be ahead of you.
All right, and we've never tried to radio the ship since the first time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Stalik would suggest, perhaps before we continue, attempt to radio the ship. At least make the effort.
And I'd put Salus down and then, right, probably at least worth trying. I don't expect much though, to be honest. And I would tap my comm badge. This is Ensign
Wait
Sean.
Wait a moment. Wait a moment, if you would. Maybe I can work out something. And try to, basically, I want to try to, if I can, I don't know if you're going to have him roll to see if he can communicate, but if he is, I'll attempt to maybe reduce the difficulty.
Yes. So the first thing would be that when you tap your communicator badge to talk to the ship, there is actually no response. You get the sense that the signal is not getting through. Boss, in response, you can try to work on the communicator a bit to see if he can over interference due to the radiation that's kind of surrounding the ship. This would be an engineering task to kind of quickly, make some adjustments on the communicator. Would you like to do that?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what it would be. Would be like, get it here, like maybe if I use the algorithm, the focusing algorithm from lasers, I can hone in a tighter beam. If I have to, I'll use my tricorder as a booster to amplify the signal.
This would be then a control plus engineering. With a task difficulty of 3.
3.
Mm-hmm.
I will use jury rig to reduce it by 2.
Perfect. Go for it.
For the scene.
Okay.
But as long as we can get an outgoing transmission, it's worth it, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I could technically spend momentum to keep it going for extra scenes, but and so it would be difficulty 1.
Yes, that's correct.
And I don't think I have any applicable focuses for communications device, fusion rack transporters. No. And one of our momentum for good luck.
Okay.
So depth is also reduced to 1.
Nice. And in response, you hear, "This is Commander Singh.
Commander Singh, this is Ensign Sean reporting on the away team. Can you hear me?"
Yes, Ensign Sean. I can hear you, but barely. What is the status?"
"We were able to board the ship without incident, but we found something strange, a forest in the middle of the ship. We have not come into contact with any sentient life, any beings at this point. We're trying to figure out what might have happened that has the ship doing what it's doing right now.
There seems to be no change in anything out here. The ship is still on course. It has not changed in its heading. It's still heading for the star, albeit very, very slowly. See if you can, if not, return back. Do not keep or put your lives in jeopardy.
Understood, Commander. We will proceed on. I will attempt to update you if anything changes, but the signal has been poor.
Agreed. Commander Singh out.
John out.
Yeah, basically you'll see my tricorders little, and I'll react like I get a shock. I'll be like, just what I was afraid of. So best not do that again, else we'd risk taxing the power of our equipment. If I want to do it again from now on, I'm not going to spend the momentum to maintain it, but if I try to do it again, the difficulty increases by 1. Just trying to fix a jury-rigged item increases it by 1. But hey, we got the communication out, right?
Yep, and status has been updated. And you guys also know that nothing on the outside has changed. The ship is still operating as normal. It's still moving through space as normal. There's no change on the outside. Do you guys proceed towards the lights next?
That's the plan.
This is going to be in the middle of the group. She is not going to be anywhere near the front.
Okay, so there we
Perhaps
go.
we travel single file, arms close to them. Try not to disturb any of the vines.
And Lyra turns to Boss and goes, "If we're going to travel single file, I suggest we put Stalik in front. He is the strongest of us all."
Boss will harumph at that.
I disagree. I would not wish to risk Stalik, as he is the only medical officer among us. I will take point. You may stand behind. I think it would be best you stand behind me, Lyra, as you have the tricorder that could find these signatures of these threats.
And she nods.
Stock agrees and says, that makes the most sense. It would be unwise for us to let me go in front. If I go down, who knows what happens to the rest? And the security officer here is definitely the most well-trained.
Oh, I think no one should sell themselves short. We are all well trained in our respective craft. But I will take point. I will attempt to lead us through these trials. Lyra, please be behind me with the tricorder and let me know if you pick up any threats ahead.
Of course.
With that, the scene changes. You guys walk single file through those vines, ensuring that you help each other out, keep an eye out for each other, and not get tangled up in any of those. You guys are now in what seems like a clearing. There are more trees ahead of you, and those larger pines are behind. Pines and oaks and red tree-like trees are behind you. And what ahead of you, the lights now are basically what seem like robots. They are hovering off just a few feet off the ground, and they seem to be doing tasks that seem to be roughly taking care of the plants around. They have two arms. Both have implements on them, which seem like botanical implements. Some shears, like and then some clippers, and then there are like some water spouts, and they just seem to be kind of flitting about, buzzing around, taking care of different plants in the area.
Point man's leading us. What you gonna do?
I will hold up my hand to stop everyone and look ahead. Those are certainly not plants.
What did you find? Start trying to. I'm shorter than everybody, so I start straining to look around.
Ensign Hogg, come here. This might be your area of expertise.
Come up, crouch down to one knee, be scratching the chin with my knuckles. What did you find? Most intriguing. Any kind of recognition what type of design they might be?
The design seems completely alien to you. They are robots. They do have. Um, they do seem, how do you say, like the design does kind of tend towards humanoid, right? Because it's got two arms, and implements at the ends of the arms.
Yeah.
It's got like the face shows, it's got like a scanner that it's continuously scanning the area around it, and then doing appropriate tasks to tend to that area. um, you can run a few tasks to determine um, uh, more about these entities in front of you.
Yeah, mine. It's not. All I'm assuming all robots have a universal layout. My thing is more like the design. Does it look like, it looks like the Ferengi usually use those shapes and angles when they create their
Oh,
stuff.
it's interesting you say that the design doesn't not recognize any of the design patterns you see in front of you.
Okay, so just initially at a loss completely.
But it is a mechanical system, electromechanical system, and it is
Yeah,
doing
it's just
tasks.
it's just not registering as anything. It's like I've seen the Klingon scrub
Yes,
bots of whatever. No, it's not Klingon design. No, it's not Ferengi design.
yes,
It's
exactly.
usual. Take a look at the shears and the spades and all that stuff. The thing's bristling out like a Swiss Army knife. He goes, I wonder what security protocols they have for unwanted guests.
They do not, in response to your question right there, they do not seem to notice you. Like they have not moved towards you um, in any aggressive way. They do not even acknowledge your presence. They are continuing to go about their business.
I think perhaps, Ensign Hogg, we should try to communicate with them, perhaps?
I could try to approach one, see how it reacts.
I'll approach with you.
Salas is going to come up because she is also fairly adept at mechanical things.
Dalek will follow up using all three of them as cover.
Okay, so which
And
one do
Lyra
you?
will not follow. Lyra will try to scan them from here.
Okay, okay. So which one do you guys follow? The one on the left. Okay.
Yeah, I'll be slow. I'm kind of scared at first, begrudgingly take the first couple steps, but then I'll look back and I have to get my confidence up because, I'm representing and it's only a machine. I've dealt with worse. You deal with a backed up food receptacle. You'll just ultimately just walk up to it and just stand there ready for whatever it does and actually see if it turns and scans me or anything. Being prepared to lunge forward and start tearing its guts out if it does.
It does turn and scan you, but then it quickly flits away. and then this one comes close. Salas scans her, does something at her feet, which is we realize it's got nothing to do with Salas. It's just like she stepped on some roots and it just quickly tried to fix them, and then it kind of flits away over here. In the meantime, this one flits here and does something else. Then it flits back there.
Salis kind of watches them and she goes, "They're landscapers?"
Appear to be drones. Maintain the forest.
So at this point, who's trying to get some readings of these entities? Are you trying to do any tasks apart from visually observing them?
Lyra is
s-
trying to scan them.
Okay, Lyra
Stop.
scanning them. Stalic?
Stalic is more curious as to what they're looking for or what they're doing.
So Lyra, give me an engineering plus insight of task difficulty 2.
I haven't looked at her stats. I just know she has botany.
Engineering plus insight of
Okay, that's pretty good.
task difficulty 2, and you can apply computers. Stalic, I want you to do a science plus reason. Perfect.
Task difficulty.
Task difficulty 1.
Nice.
Nice.
So they're just repeating it over and over and over?
Well, no, they're not. They seem to be. They seem. Hold on. And swamp.
And Lyra looks down at her tricorder as she gets the information and she goes, "Well, somebody or something had to first." And she's gonna walk up with the rest of the group.
Boss Hog, seeing how most of the computers you talk to in Star Trek, when he's going to come back up, and if it gets near him, he's going to go, "Robot, identify yourself."
There is no verbal command, boss. I want you.
Lyra is
I want you, boss, to make a. Hold on. An engineering plus reason task of task difficulty 1. Lyra, you were saying something?
as he does that, Lyra's gonna walk up. Lyra's gonna walk up behind him and go, "They're not responsive. They probably don't even have the sensors to recognize that you're speaking with them. They are programmed to be doing what they're doing."
Archaeotech. Never cared for the stuff.
At which point, one of them disappears. Disappears in the sense it just kind of flies away in this direction. The other is kind of moving around, doing certain other things.
Is that does it fly off in the direction of the center?
Roughly towards the center.
And Lyra kind of gestures to the one that's flying off, and she goes, "That looks like our escort if we want to get to the center of this place."
Yes, they seem to be harmless enough. I say we press on.
Indeed. Back in formation, then.
Don't have the time or the desire to try and disable it. See if I can learn more about its insides. Yeah, if they're not attacking, by all means, we press onward. Because that thing could be going to like a shed or some
Central
kind. Maybe only.
processing facility.
So
Yeah.
Stalek says, it seems as though they are just fixing the roots, the trees, broken limbs. They are keepers of the forest.
That's what I figure. Cultivators, automatons of some kind.
Okay. Are you guys going to continue to proceed towards the general direction of the center?
Yep.
Yeah, keep an eye out. Were those two the source of all the lights, or is it safe to assume that there's others like them out there also? Maybe.
You yes, you based on what you have seen so far, um, you can make that fair assumption that these were the robots causing the lights you saw, at least the ones you saw.
Yeah.
It would also be a fair assumption that given the size of this place, that these may not be the only robots.
Yeah. That's what I was trying to put two to two together on that.
Yeah. So you guys continue into the forest, and at this point, once you get here, uh, you you hear something strange. You hear what do you guys do?
It. One of us has a focus in like alien life forms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
What?
it's
So what?
Stalek, right?
Yeah. So it was a.
Oh,
Say
you
that
don't
last.
have your audio, Salik?
I guess I misheard the beginning. So it was one of the robots.
No. So you are now on a different screen. As you guys kind of walk deeper into the forest, once the robots disappeared, not disappeared, as they kind of went away to do their own tasks, you come to a new section of the forest, and you hear this kind of noise. You get the sense you know what it is, but you need to kind of get some more readings.
Did y'all hear anything I said?
No.
No,
No,
we didn't catch
you're
any of that.
muted.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, I was talking away, and all of a sudden it popped up. Wi-Fi connection limited.
Oh,
So yeah, Stalek will. I mean, his tricorder's been out for plants and stuff, and as soon as there's a noise,
so give me a science plus insight, and your xenobiology focus applies. Task difficulty 1.
Plus, it's straining his hearing because in his mind he's thinking that the local fauna has decided to show itself, but then he strains his ears because it could be might be a sensor all muffled with vegetation.
Perfect. So, Stalek, here comes your. And they're coming in this direction. The sound is coming from this direction.
I actually don't know what that is.
Oh, hold on.
I'm sure everyone else does. So Stalik will just say, hopefully, it sounds like tribbles.
Tribbles. Here.
Does anybody venture forward to take a look?
Hold on, I have to Google it. I don't know what that is.
It's the thing that ate all furballs, that ate all the grain, and Klingons are allergic to them.
Klingons
like
went to a
Klingons.
fucking war with the tribbles.
Yeah.
Because there's so many tribbles.
Those things. Oh,
Yeah.
Does
Mostly
anybody step forward to investigate? Look
Oh,
at it?
I
You
am.
get-
Because I need to confirm whether that's what it is or not.
So Renan,
Stalik moves forward if he's behind.
okay. So Renan moves Stalik slightly behind, and Renan, you see in front of you there is a small group of tribbles just sitting there, cooing by themselves. They seem to be munching on the grass. Um, they seem tribbles, but you know for a fact that certain other aspects about them that doesn't quite make sense. You guys are free to roleplay whatever you guys want to discuss.
What do I notice that isn't the usual for tribbles?
The fact that there is a small group of tribbles here and you have not seen any tribbles anywhere before this.
So, Lyra will speak up and she'll go, if they're tribbles, that would explain the carnivorous plants. If you are able to capture one tribble in your gigantic mouth, you're able to capture at least 12.
These things breed worse than Terran rabbits.
Indeed, but why have we not seen them before now? I understand there are quite a few predatory plants, but even a startling amount of predatory plants could not control a substantial tribble population. There are but 3
They
of
are
them
quite
here.
invasive.
Stalik says, the radiation.
Huh.
As we move in, the radiation dimmens. It makes sense. Living creatures would be further in.
So
No
then,
fungi.
the further we go in, the more tribbles there will be.
Stalek, give me medicine plus reason or medicine plus insight, task difficulty 1. Xenobiology does continue to apply. This is to get a closer understanding of what these tribbles are.
Okay, so you said medicine or insight.
Yeah, reason or insight, whichever is higher, whichever you prefer.
I think he's always using his reason, if possible.
And task difficulty 1, focus applies.
Just reach down and pick one up. They're only about the size of a potato.
Boss, do you pick one up?
No, tribbles are senseless, useless creatures. I don't care about those things. I have no reason to be happy.
Yeah. As he's
Just
trying to
punch one.
identify more about them, he does say like, these are quite puffy and kind of, I don't know the word, cute. And he it's not a word he would use like 97% of the time. And then he says, yes, I mean, these are not tribbles. Tribble-esque, but and they don't seem dangerous.
No, they don't. They actually, when you pick them up or you touch them, they continue to like coo and make that tribble noise.
So,
Yeah, so he even that's what happens once he realizes they're not what they kind of thought they were. He picks it up and it continues to be loving and stuff, and he says, "See, they are interesting, different."
So perhaps they only pretend to be tribbles in an act to protect themselves, perhaps?
It could be a variation on the species.
Boss has just got his nose wrinkled up more than usual. He's just like, useless creature is probably another mutation of some kind. Put the thing down before.
Boss, are you close enough to that area, or are you kind of further back?
No, I'll approach up with him.
Okay, I want you to make an insight plus engineering roll with the task difficulty 2.
At least Furbies.
I stepped on one.
Are they foodies?
You punted it.
Yes, that's exactly what happened. That was the complication right there. So how does that look?
Going on, you're talking about there may be another mutation of some kind. And he goes to look at one to pick one up, but when he does, he like punts and steps on one, and it's out. Just piss poor planning of his foot. He just unusual creatures, probably some mutation. He goes to reach down one up while he's saying some mutation of some kind. And it's
Oh God.
of course, he immediately drops the thing. Then he just.
And Lyra's just going to immediately look to the one that Stalik is holding to see if it has any reaction to this.
It does not actually. It's just cooing and tribbling by itself.
They also don't seem very protective of their own kind, do they?
Is the one that got smashed even really reacting?
What do you mean?
Like, how is the one that got stepped on?
It's dead.
Yeah.
Oh.
Oh God.
Yeah.
They're very small.
Yeah.
Goodness, boss, you crushed it.
It's not my fault. He got underfoot too fast.
I would observe the corpse to see if there's any differences.
Swamp, you seeing the messages I sent you about the tribbles based on your medicine roll?
I don't know if they all came. I got the first one. Let me refresh.
Dude, were you even in the game, or were you kicked out?
No, I just refreshed.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so he says, I think I understand now. These were engineered. And he's kind of like, now he's not holding this like an animal anymore. He's holding it like an experiment, as it like out in front of him, kind of like twirling it around, looking at it. Seems like a variation of tribbles, but these are not natural.
Probably bred as a food source.
Well, somebody had to do it. Or perhaps this ship has its own evolution?
No one really has to force tribble-like creatures to breed if they were conceived in the same manner as the tribbles typically are. All they would have to do is leave one here in a safe location, and
Stalik shakes his head. He says, "These don't seem to be able to reproduce at all."
Not a bad stratagem when devising a food source. Remember tales of the Enterprise being overrun by them. They got into the food stores, devoured them up, and just flooded out in the ship. Control the population. They would probably make a most excellent food source.
Do they have any basic predators, or are all predators basic predators for the tribble?
all predators will be basic predators for the tribble. The tribble has no way of defending itself other than the coups.
And just at that time, you guys, I was here in the distance. From the you see like a light kind of emanate from the ground. You see 3 more tribbles pop up, and then the light kind of shut down again.
Man, we're on an assembly line.
And Lyra's going to run off towards it, shout behind her, "Perhaps they're being replicated," and she's just gonna keep just run towards it.
Well, we shouldn't get
Stalik
separated. And try to run towards her.
As everyone's running off, Stalik says, "Didn't I say that?" Kind of confused and runs after them.
No, I think you said they cannot reproduce. I think she said they're being replicated.
Being
Oh, you said they were
engineered.
being replicated. Okay, cool.
Yeah, I said they were being engineered. I guess I didn't use that word, but
I kind of took it as like they were engineered and then released as like their own thing.
No, basic. I guess in Stalik's mind, these are like clone. Like it's something. Like they're just being cloned. It's some kind of genetic experiment clone process. So this may be a cloning facility of some sort, I guess.
It's somebody's arbitorium, I do believe. And it's just left on autopilot.
So
It's like
Lyra,
the one dude who collects rare Pokemon in Pokemon.
roll me an engineering plus reason.
Difficulty 1.
Difficulty 2. Use your focus of transporters and replicators because you're going with that hunch.
I'm going to spend a momentum.
Okay.
Come
No.
You're there looking at the tribbles and you're trying to figure out how they're being kind of released, what's the mechanism. You are not able to get a sense of why it's happening or like how it's happening. And just then another 200 to 300 feet ahead of you, something again, the light emanates on the ground, and then you see some more tribbles pop up, and then the light kind of disappear.
I'm just gonna continue to follow these lights as they appear. Just run.
Helping her? Are you guys just sitting about doing nothing? What's happening? Come on.
I'm trying to chase her. She's going off on her own. Can't leave her. Don't want to get separated. So.
Yeah, I'm following behind. So.
Okay.
I'm not hauling butt to do it. By the time they'd make their decision to move onward, I'll probably reach the second set of tribbles.
Okay. Do you want to roll anything to see what it's about?
Yeah, I'll look for an entry and try to stomp down with my foot and see if, try to run a spectral analysis of the ground if there's anything immediately metal beneath the vegetation or anything Then
Okay.
I'll start to think to myself and hit my comm badge. I'll go, wait a minute, please advise caution if you're moving onward. We might have arrived in the midst of feeding time for something.
So as you're stomping around, see what's up with this delivery mechanism. Renan, you hear the comm badge. At least the short distance communication seems to be working. Boss, I want you to roll engineering plus insight. Um, this time with the focus of your power systems knowledge,
Okay.
and you will still continue to be 2.
Okay.
Awesome.
I'll spend that one to gain more info.
Okay.
After hearing what boss brings up, I'm gonna consider that and start looking around, see if there's anything approaching that might want to eat tribbles.
Yeah, that's exactly what Stalk was gonna do. Scan for anything else in the area that is abnormal, like something that is, that hasn't been there yet. Probably a carnivorous animal of sorts. Or even the forest moving in on them.
Okay, I got you, Cypher.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you heard what Swamp said, but go ahead, deal with that.
Okay.
Yeah, Gia, catch me.
1 minute. Yeah, say that again. You're trying to do a check to see there's something
So-
coming towards you.
Yeah, basically, so knowing the readings that they've gotten so far, right,
Mhm.
it would be easy to detect if either something of the same nature is moving forward, like such as the forest trying to like move its feeding time, perhaps, like you said, or something carnivorous that would read as a different signal, kind of.
Perfect. So give me a science plus insight on this one. Task difficulty 1. For Stalic. Don't think you'll have a focus on this, unfortunately. You said you're going to wait on boss's uh, uh, response, correct?
I'm going to use 1 momentum.
Okay, go for it. Oof, nice.
Challenge.
Wow.
Oh,
5. So,
-1 +4.
yep. Stalic. Let me send you this.
And if possible, I'd like to use one of those immediately to gain more information about I guess I don't more information about like what's happening here in general.
Okay, okay.
If that's possible.
Yep, it is possible. I'll use one of that. Yep, okay.
So is it Lyra and Renan, the only 2 that went ahead?
Yes.
I'm like split the difference with I'm with
Who's Solace with? Just trying to determine if I'm by myself or not.
Alice probably would have stayed with you. She's not super interested in the tribbles. Also, she doesn't really want to go running off into the middle of nowhere. She's almost died twice now.
Once he's done with the messages and all that, if they come back or anything. As far as Solace knows, you'll see Boss go up to the tribbles and look around and look disgusted at him slightly. Make sure he doesn't step on one and then picks another one up, and almost contemplates handing you the tribbles. As he's messing around with them, he seems to have made a discovery. You see him crouch to the ground and start digging. He makes a discovery.
You, Silas will look over and she'll go, "You got something there?"
Like I said, let them deal with what they need to first.
Cool. So I
Stalik.
sent my messages to Swamp.
Yep.
Go
So
ahead.
Stalik says, "It is obvious what this is. It is a feeding." And he shows his, tricorder information, pointing out the statistics. There are no large biometric signals in the area, and haven't been for a long time. And he points at the ground and says, "There's even no signs of tracks or droppings." What I assume happened, and what is most likely, is that any large predators that would have been here, that would have needed feeding long ago, are now dead.
Oh.
Down. And he says, but something is down there.
And Lyra kind of looks around at all the tribbles and she goes, "So then, at some point, do the tribbles just die off on their own?"
I would assume they starve.
What is the tribbles' main food source? Are they omnivores?
Or get eaten by other plants.
You think the tribbles would go out that far?
Stalik shrugs. I am not sure.
Perhaps the robots clean up what's left over?
Stalik looks at Boss. Is Boss digging still?
Yeah. What, boss? Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I was trying to figure out who was actually near me to see what happened.
Yep. So, didn't you come over towards Chan?
They ran off from the second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So
ran,
I'm.
You see,
yeah.
there was three. There was the first one that we encountered that I stepped on one. There was a second one that they ran to, and then there was a third one that they ran after. I just made it to the second one. So that's what I was trying to judge. Who was still with me there?
Have a communicator badge. You can always call people close by and let them know you have something. That's always there.
Yeah, that's why I was just giving you personal time to handle out your private messages and see how they responded.
Yep, that's done. Yep.
Yeah, then I was relaying to Solace, whoever was immediately in front of me, what would, leading up to that, what would have happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, if y'all are, Boss Hog, like I said, he's in the where the tribbles popped up out of, and he's picking them up. And as he's picking them up, trying not to step on them as he's picking them up, he makes a discovery and immediately gets down on one knee and starts digging softly through the dirt, and it appears he made something. Solace made the comment too that's on the recording that it seems you have found something. And you notice he farts around for a little bit, and he opens up a panel and the scoop and pop it up, and by the time he hits his comm badge, he already has like a good 1.5 feet of cable, not completely ripped out, but you know how like you just pick it up enough to see what it is. So he's got probably like, a good bunch of it pulled up just to reassure and reevaluate what his discovery is. Then he'll his comm badge while y'all are relaying y'all's information about the carnivores or whatever. He goes, yeah. I'm going to go ahead and assume that when Stalik says the feeding, I'll reassure that with my own comment with the comm badge. It's like, seems to be concurrent with my own findings there, Stalik. I've just discovered a power tube. This appears to be running underneath the ground itself. Power lines, power source of some kind. It says these are just running on automated responses. Most definitely like to get to their engineering section to find out what's going on.
There's clearly some sort of power here, and if anyone can reroute it to save the ship, it is definitely you. We should definitely find the engine.
Aye.
I agree. Let's figure this thing out.
Okay, so at this point, boss, when you guys have made all the connections and you realize that there's this kind of a feeding system, you start paying more closer attention to the ground, and you start seeing a pattern emerge. Every 100, 200 feet, there is like a small clearing. Like if you just looked at it, you wouldn't see it. But now that you know what you're looking for, you start seeing a pattern, and
It's kind of like Hansel and Gretel leaving breadcrumbs on
exactly.
the trail, yeah.
Exactly, and the the pattern actually, it's heading in this direction. The power lines and the intervals are kind of heading in that direction. Based on Salus's previous um, uh, checks, the center of the ship is in the blue direction. Um, so it's going in a slightly different direction than the center of the ship. Um, but the power lines definitely seem to be coming from in the direction of the red arrow.
So Silas will get down and look at the lines, and she'll go, well, then the engine or whatever is powering this that way, and who knows what's at the center? Maybe a control station? I mean, there's got to be something that's keeping.
Trying to put two and two together, but off the top of my head, boss would be like, most likely this would lead to some kind of replicating powerhouse, a storage shed of some kind, maybe some mechanical processing plants. I doubt it would be the main ship's primary drives and systems. Not quite sure if it'd be worthy of an investigation.
Well, currently it only makes tribbles.
I'm sure it's also hooked up to maintaining a homeostasis of balance amongst this auditorium that we're inside of. So I would not like to disturb the balance, especially with that Stalik was going on about.
Indeed. If the replicator is just making tribbles and isn't making anything else, then there's no point in going to go find it and possibly break it.
It's managed to keep things in balance so far.
Stock will ask, do you have any other ideas then?
You said the fungus is not here? The radioactive eating fungus is not here?
No, it is pretty much growing everywhere. Um, and it is consuming any ambient radiation uh, that would be found around here. It's just that as you go deeper in the forest, there is more trees, and the fungi grow on these trees, right? You don't
Yeah,
see them
okay,
on the
so it's
ground.
thicker, it soaks more, yeah. Yeah, my biggest concern is we make it through all this radiation shielding, and as soon as we open the door to the central structure, hey, it's all the radiation.
No, so is basically you mean to say the radiation that's trapped inside a specific
Yeah,
room?
my theory is this this greenhouse has adapted to the radiation and created its own manner of keeping the plants and fauna alive,
Hmm.
and that's hence it maybe even engineered the friggin' fungi itself to help seal the wound or staunch the.
Hmm.
My biggest concern is that we wade through this protection, then when we get to the inside to check it, that might be the damaged system that's flooded with radiation.
Well, the further we've moved this way, the less radiation and stronger all this stuff's gotten. That's why I assume it's safer the further inward we go.
Yeah, what it probably is that the outside was ravaged by the ion storm, but further in, the plants. I'm guessing the plants already
Able to
this
survive a
in.
little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
guessing they already had this in before they ever encountered this storm. So they protected whatever was in like the very middle of this because they were absorbing the radiation that came in.
Yeah, I'm caught too at a quandary because if the power lines lead to the equivalent of a garden shed, is there a gardener in the garden shed?
I think the power is our only lead. I mean,
Hmm.
you're a power bro. You can reroute it.
We could always just head to the center still.
Or isn't that headed towards the center, kind of?
They're going in opposite directions.
Well, they're both going. Yeah, they're
Oh,
both going inward. It's just we're veering. We would be veering. Path to the center would be like side
gotcha.
tracking. Okay, see,
That is interesting.
yeah, I don't want to overthink too much either because if there was a way to like pseudo pretend shut down, see what would happen and draw somebody out, but I'm overthinking it. So there's basically a judgment call. Do we press inward and get to the center of this ship and perhaps find the command center and engineering? Move onward to whatever's powering these feeding tubes and see if there's someone there, if not another automated device of some kind.
And Salis will speak up and she'll go, perhaps not the best idea, but we could split up, perhaps. Boss and I could head to the replicator station, and you three could head to the center to see if there's anything there.
I'm not so sure how good of an idea that is. I'm not sure that. Well, I have some knowledge of engineering, but not much.
The ship's main primary faculties is what I would be better off dot. I just muted myself. Yeah,
So give me this. Give me what's motivating further in, so I can then tell you based on what you already know. Sometimes your characters might know something, but you as a player might have missed it.
I think what we're looking at here is the power lines versus headed straight towards like the main controls in the middle.
Correct. So, you know from the design of the ship when you first approached it, it's more like a spindle, right? So there were two kind of the tops jutting out from the center. Uh, also, some indication that the power drives are basically housed in those central pillars, right, which form the top. Um, So if you are interested in looking more at the control systems, the drive systems, yes, then that would be possibly towards the center of the ship. if you are interested in determining more the purpose of these power lines, these feeding tubes or delivery systems, and what else might lie down that path, then the power lines would be, then going on the red arrow would what you would want to do.
I feel like if we can get this ship and steer it so that it's not gonna smash in, like, careen into the sun or this, then we would have plenty of time to explore everything else.
Yes, if that's the goal, then continuing towards the center would still be, um, based on your all your assumptions and knowledge, that would still be the best direction.
Yeah, because to me, main protocol would be finding and ascertaining the situation of both a control center and a power supply.
Yeah.
Can you get the ship started if you need to move it? Find out through the command center if there's any logs of what the hell happened here. Now the only thing I would even think about the power lines leading off is, like I said, if it's, to me in my mind, it's just gonna go lead to a garden shed. Basically, okay, we follow the irrigation system to this friggin' sump pump right here. You know, the only secondary reason I would even think about backtracking the power supply is, well, what if there's a guy there working the friggin' sump pump? He's the one that's in charge of all this, but so far it all seems automated.
Yeah, because Lyra already pointed out that all of the robots are pre-programmed, and all of the replicators seem to just be going
Yeah.
off on their own. It's not. They seem to be timed.
Yeah, if I could cut straight to the chase and find the main objective as opposed to maybe off of a slim chance dealing with some crazy old coot who's like, I like robots and tree. I'd rather go straight to the middle.
Made some tree robots.
Cool. So you guys are continuing to head towards the
I think
center.
that's the best idea we
Yeah.
can.
Yeah.
Cool. So you guys start trekking towards the center, following the blue arrow I've just drawn on the screen. You for the next 30 minutes or so, you continue to trek towards the center. You are well aware of forest. You know what to look out for. Your tricorders are set to detect any more fly traps. You also know to stay away from the larger trees and anything that looks like a vine. Um, Eventually, you come across what looks like uh, a stream, um, and distance. I'm not sure if you guys want to zoom out of this. You start seeing an inorganic man. I won't take the word man loosely here. A humanoid made structure.
Uh, you ever see Iceman? About the caveman that was found and thawed out?
No,
That's what he lived in. They made it look like a natural environment. Of the dome above the cliffs at the highest point. That's where it started going. It went from like fake rock and trees and stuff. Then it started getting industrial, like dome glass and stuff. That's what I pictured.
cool. So that actually brings me to my next task. I want anyone who's interested to roll reason plus engineering or reason plus science. As you start getting closer to this area, um, if your tricorders are out trying to get readings on what you're seeing in front of you, it's still a little hazy, but you clearly make out structures.
I don't have. I gave my tricorder to Lyra, so
Yeah, I'd be monitoring radiation levels.
Would botany still apply?
No, botany will not apply for this.
Okay.
Biology probably wouldn't,
No.
because it's not about structures. It's about...
Task
You said
difficulty
one?
Task difficulty 1, yes. Perfect.
And this is about the structure of the ship, right?
Um,
Of this area.
Yeah,
this area of the ship.
yeah, not the ship. Yeah, this is more like if picture you see these things out in the distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean to say. It so far you've seen everything organic, trees, plants, wildlife, right? But for the first time, you're now seeing like humanoid built structure out in the distance. Um, okay, so you guys quickly realize that the structures appear to be fake stone, right? It is definitely a humanoid structure, something that's capable of housing systems. There seem to be like power lines kind of headed out of that structure. It is made to look aesthetic, right? To kind of make it look like it belongs in this forest. If you look closely, there's actually there is a waterfall, and the image depicts it correctly. There is a waterfall that seems to be emanating from this structure. You also see that the same waterfall becomes a stream as it's kind of closer to you. Um, you also with the kind of successes you have rolled, you know that this is most likely the central system. Plus, it also seems to be generating uh, then seems to be kind of being used by this biosphere to, you know, for irrigation and so on and so forth.
Cool.
Do you guys continue to proceed towards the structure?
Um, I'd be scanning the water to see if it's potable radiation levels, and then I guess I gradually look up and start to notice the structure and kind of get wide-eyed and impressed. Like, aha, we.
Yeah, so I would say with your engineering task, the water does not uh, emit any radiation. Um, it also seems potable, um, free of any organics within the water itself.
Yeah.
As per its mineral, not quite clear.
Yeah.
So as you guys continue to proceed towards the structure, I want you all to make either no, make a control. Let me see, control plus security.
You guys,
Um,
all of us, right?
all of you, yes, except actually all of you. And Renan, you have focus. I won't say what the focus is, but for now, you have focus.
Okay, so for momentum purposes, who's going first?
Hold on. Did you guys? So,
I guess boss is going first.
boss is going first. Okay, so hold on, boss. Momentum purposes. If you click on the momentum thing, you guys have 5 momentum right now. Whichever way you guys want to do it. So I would say, Renan, you go first because generally your control and security are pretty high.
Okay. And then we have task difficulty 2.
Task difficulty 2.
I'll
Yes,
use
control
one.
plus security. Okay, focus. Perfect.
I'll
Awesome.
use one of my. Hold on a second. Oh, take extra threat there. I'll use one of my bonus momentums to create an advantage for future rolls.
Takes
Takes
2
2.
to create.
I'll use them both then.
Yeah.
Okay. How are you proceeding to create an advantage? Okay, you know what? 1 minute. 1 minute. Hold on. I need to tell you this
Sure.
first. So
So what does the
yeah.
advantage do? Does everybody else get a die? Or...
No. He does a certain action, and based on his action, the next person can have reduces their task difficulty in this scenario. Is the rule. But give me a moment.
Yeah, if you click the improving the odds momentum file, it tells you how you spend them. Creating opportunities. Those are nice.
All right, so Renan in front freezes and whips out his phaser and starts looking around, very harried and concerned for a moment. But then you see composure come back over his face. Like, we all must be very careful. Something is wrong. I felt something strange
Okay.
in my mind.
So now you have all that information, and then you did that role play. How do you create an advantage, and who do you create it for?
Boss failed, right? So I don't think I can do it for him.
I would say in this case, given boss's previous reaction, um, you can do something for boss. I will ignore that first role.
An opportunity to gain bonus die 20s.
It can be a bunch of things. It could be also role play. He does something, he says something, because it's more role play centric. At least I take it as that. He
Yeah.
does something, he says something to you that helps you do something, and that's how you get your bonus die.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to figure. Because if creating
Yeah.
advantage, that just removes the complication from play. I just read them over. But yeah, definitely.
So what do you do?
I guess maybe I would see boss. It's starting to hit boss, and then put my hand on his shoulder. It's like, you need to keep your composure, boss. You know this place does strange things.
Well, that's why I said he was already lax when he was like checking the water and stuff, and checking. Then he looks up and he sees the signs of the technical mixed with the, like, immediately get a little spring in his step, and he's just like admiring. So I guess he would like lunge forward and take the lead forward, and then you would say that. You're spinning just, so would that give me a bonus? You just want me to roll a bonus die?
Yeah.
And keep the existing one success, roll a bonus 20?
Yeah, just roll a bonus 20. Yeah, I think that's better. Let's do that.
So I'm trying to get a 13 or less. that would
That's not what that is at all.
Complication.
Okay. So while I am typing that up, Stalek, go ahead and roll yours. You guys have 4 momentum.
Yeah, I'm gonna use one.
This is going to be control plus security.
And that opportunity should only cost 1.
Is it a mental thing? Is Kolinar, is it applicable or no?
I know. That's why I don't want to give anything away just yet. So just roll it.
Sorry, I put a
still
1.
passed.
Sorry.
That's fine. He still pass. Okay. Salus.
And I'm going to spend a momentum.
Okay.
Don't forget your challenge dice if you succeed.
It's, what is it?
Control and security. Task difficulty 2.
Alright, I'm going to spend that momentum. Fail, just like I have been the entire time I'm here.
Okay.
Created another complication.
Nice. Okay. Lyra,
Lyra's gonna succeed. Just watch.
She gonna use momentum?
you want to use?
Yes.
Alright, we're down to
Okay.
1.
I heard you just a little bit too late.
Almost.
Okay, so at least, but it is Salus and Boss who are. Okay, so so as you guys continue towards this structure, Renan pull his phaser out and start looking about himself nervously. About the same time, uh, the rest of you start getting a sensation of utter fear. Um, it's like you sense something is right behind you. You kind of like quickly turn around to see who it is, but there's no one there. You start your heart rate starts picking up. Um, you feel, boss, you especially, you feel that you're in a hunt now. That something is stalking you. That something has kind of lured you all the way here, um, to a purpose unknown to you. Salus, you start feeling, um, there are vines actually attaching themselves to your legs and start. Um, Rinan, you see that there are no vines on Salus, but Salus, she's kind of freaking out, or you can role play that as you feel. Um, but all Stalek, you don't feel anything. Lyra is feeling the same effects of the fear, but Salus and Boss are the most fearful right now.
So Salus, as this happens, she stumbles backwards and falls over, clawing at her legs. Like she's like trying to rip her own, rip the boots. She's ripping her boots off and all of that, and just like clawing at her legs and just like screaming like, "Get them off! Get them off!"
Go ahead, boss.
Boss jumps around, squats down, and looks fearful, and then he starts looking around, and he's like, "Quickly, everyone to come!" Like, side roll off, and he'll raise his phaser in defense, like he's about to shoot it. Just about the time y'all might try to stop him from shooting, and he'll fire a random shot into the distance. So, we're not alone. Get cover!
Stalek! I'd get to Stalek's side quick. I think they're hallucinating. I think we should subdue them for a moment until they regain their composure.
Has already had his tricorder out as soon as he realized what was happening. He was kind of ready for this to happen again, I feel. So he's this time he's gonna make sure he has the right mix, the right chemicals for whatever this is. But first, do another quick check to make sure it's like a similar allergy.
Yep, go for it. This would be reason plus medicine.
Any here.
I would say, given the the severity of the reaction, you are now thinking a little more than emergent. You think more than like an allergic reaction, emergency medical line. So I would say that focus applies.
Okay, so you said medicine and reason.
Medicine and reason with the focus of emergency medicine.
And what's the difficulty?
The task difficulty would be 1 for this.
No whammies.
Nice. So Stalek, you start seeing around you, yellow on the image itself, these yellow kind of dots. Yeah. So as you kind of start looking around with your tricorder, and the rest of your party is kind of being fearful and cowering, you come close and you see that these are actually flowers, and they have a very strange pattern on them. They look like sun, but instead of yellow petals, the petals are like um, blue and purple in color, and the center of the flowers, uh, instead of, like sunflower has that like a brownish black center, right?
Right.
This one has something very similar, but it's kind of pinkish in nature. And you, for the lack of a better term, it looks like a brain. And when you get closer, I mean, not like real seriously close, but you're walking in its general direction. You you see that it starts what it starts kind of shifting away. Like a touch me not, how it starts when the moment you touch it, it kind of closes on itself.
Right.
This plant, bending away from you or trying to stay away from you. Um, do you want to spend that momentum you generated to get more information?
Yep, definitely. Uh, so you said that they were emanating something as well, or
Correct. So you see that they are actually emanating what seems to be pheromones. Um,
y-
the, you can clearly see that the pheromone is the strongest from like the center of the flower.
so he wants to try to get more information using like of the pheromones and a way to counter it, if they're like a way
Yeah.
to counter it.
So go ahead and roll a control medicine. This one will be with a task difficulty of 2. Um, Actually, sorry, make it 3. A task difficulty of 3. And what you're doing here is basically gathering readings from your tricorder and calibrating your hypospray with the
So
net.
he's getting he's trying to get the perfect reading from the middle, even if he can perhaps I don't know how close he thinks he
You are
can get,
wary of
but
getting too close to it
yeah.
because so
But
it's difficulty of 3. Do you want to use any momentum?
yeah, we have how many
2
momentum?
right now.
Ooh, yeah. I'll use one.
Okay.
What's our threat at? 12?
Don't
Threat is
worry
at
about
12,
it. Just
yes.
take one if you want to get another die.
Focus or no focus?
Emergency medicine would definitely be a focus here.
Yeah, okay. I should probably figure out how to counter this. I'm gonna raise the threat one and
Okay.
go ahead. So medicine reason. 4 die.
No, sorry, hold on. Not medicine reason. Control plus medicine.
Or
You
control
are
medicine.
yeah,
Yeah,
control
sorry.
medicine.
Same thing.
4 die and 3 task
Applicable.
difficulty 3. Focus applies.
Well, I got
Awesome.
would have got it with a regular roll.
Awesome. Okay.
Did he create a complication?
Challenge
Yes.
die.
Would you like to?
I'm gonna use 2 of those to remove. Oh,
You only got one.
yeah, we have 2 right now.
Oh, yeah.
No, we
two,
have
yeah,
2
you're
total
right.
though. I'm gonna use 2 of them to remove the complication.
Okay. Okay. So how does this look, Talik? You are successful completely. So what happens here, roleplay wise?
Yeah, you see like a more high tech filtration device that he snaps onto the tricorder and gets almost as close as he can possibly get without feeling in danger, and kind of just swing through it, and then just immediately begins studying the readings. And then when it calculates quickly, and he just says to himself, probably loud enough for everyone to hear, interesting pheromones. These readings will be nice to study later. And kind of pulls the hypo spray out, calibrates it, and then immediately moves towards boss. And it's probably going to run soon.
Mm-hmm.
And is going to inject him, or spray, I mean.
Nice.
While he's run up to boss to inject him, I'm trying to stop Salas from tearing herself up in the legs and ripping off her boots, run over and just try to manhandle her a bit, I guess. Wrap her arms up.
Awesome. Stalek, do you also give shots to everyone else?
Oh yeah. If he can easily just hit boss and then hit the others real fast, and he's definitely just doing like drive-by hypo sprays, just kind of like just in each of their faces as quick as he can.
Nice.
Even each one of them, him and just to be on the 100% safe side, because you never know.
Perfect. Okay, so how does that role play out for the rest of you guys?
Stalek is not the source of my fear. It's something in the woods that's apparently about to get us. So I may have fired once, and about the time I'm ready to fire again, he'd come over, and I'd look real slow. I said, "Get to cover!" And then, "What are you doing?" And then about that time, gets the shot or whatever, and he's like, "What have you done to me? What are you doing?" Play that out as basically, if it drugs me, makes me loopy or whatever.
You don't feel loopy. You suddenly start seeing, like, you suddenly start feeling clear thought again in your mind. The fear starts to dissipate.
Adrenaline rush starts to wear off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be like, "What are you doing?" I said there's something vigilant. Maybe it was nothing.
And by the time that Renan gets around to Salas, her boots are already off, and she's already left some pretty mean scratches in her own legs.
Mm-hmm.
But as he comes up, like, "No, stay away! They'll get you too!" And it's pretty much just like restrained, sprayed, and she kind of looks around, and she blushes because she feels stupid. And she goes over and she very purposefully puts her boots back on.
And being that I can sense surface thoughts, I would feel that. And just don't let it get to you too much, Salas. It affected nearly all of us. Even I was affected for a moment.
Nice. Excellent. So you guys all quickly recover with Stalek's quick medicine. Stalek is there, fidgeting with his tricorder, getting all the hypospace administered, silently. And you guys start feeling that fear recede away. Stalek will also tell you about the flowers that seem to be generating the pheromones and causing this.
Oh yeah. The moment everybody came to, he points like out each one, and the security officer Renan would have seen him, the one that he gathered it from, but they're very distinct. These flowers, they emanate a pheromone that seems to make everything scared. They even seem to be scared themselves as they shy away from movement.
And Boss Hog having been affected twice, and he's going to look embarrassed, but quickly goes to stoic and defensive, and he's like, affected us when we tried to go into the forest. Now they try to affect us when we leave the forest to go in there. Probably a defensive mechanism to keep the local wildlife within its pens, maybe?
And Lyra will kind of look to Boss and go, perhaps a long time ago, but I doubt that whatever is up there is very afraid of the tribbles.
No, I was talking about if you put pheromones on either side, the forest is edge, it keeps everything in the forest.
Yeah,
You know,
but that's what she's saying. There's nothing in the forest anymore.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, excellent job, Ensign Stellick. All that quick thinking, we might have had to, you might have had to do the whole Vulcan thing on someone, and I would not have liked to have subdued either one of my comrades. It was quick thinking to figure that out. Well done.
Stalak gives like a very honorable like nod and says, "It is my duty to keep you all alive."
yes, I suppose I should thank you. But I don't.
And Stalak, kind of, he says, "It is almost all races are subject to fear and other forms of manipulation."
And Silas remains silent because this is what, the third time that this has
Fourth,
happened?
maybe?
Something like that. Yeah, she's done with this place. She wants to go home. She wants to finish this up. She wants to go home.
Yeah, and for everyone to move forward.
Excellent. So as you guys start moving forward, now that you know that these plants um, are there and what they can generate, you're able to kind of get past the fear. You start climbing up the rocks, which is pretty easy, uh, and pretty soon you are up top from where the waterfall seems to be like falling and flowing down the rocks, becoming a stream, and then going into the forest. And you guys are now up at a vantage point, and when you turn around, you see you see the entire forest, kind of expand before you and kind of reach the horizon, right? It's pretty um it's uh it's a few kilometers, stretches out a few kilometers from where you are at. You also get the much at the center of the ship, and when you see that kind of vision before you, and then you turn around, you see what is clearly a humanoid built structure. um, it seems to be definitely uh, built to some sort of purpose, like may it be for a control room, some sort of management. Not sure, but um, this definitely seems to be the place you want to get to all along. And I'm assuming everyone goes in.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Checking for any overgrown, uh, like readings of wildlife or flora in the like passageway and whatnot.
And that's where it gets interesting. There nothing right now. So you have met vines, you've met fly traps, you've met like brain plants, you've met other plants that generate some sort of pheromones, and there's nothing around here. This place now seems less of a forest and more of a like a garden. Definitely more sterile than where you guys just came from, right? Like the forest behind you. Um, Definitely meant um, or maybe humanoids to be walking around or doing some sort of activity, taking care of this place, but much, much more safer than the forest behind you.
Interesting. So Alex says, shall we?
We shall.
And let's take a quick bio break. 5 minutes. And we shall conclude this
Sure.
chapter.
I'll just let the recording run. I'll be back.
Okay.
I don't have to bow. It was tribbles all along.
The tribbles were the ones who built the ship, and they put
Yes.
everything here, and they pointed it directly at the star, and they just wanted to all die. And they wanted to die, but they wanted to kill off as many of themselves as possible, so they created a replicator.
They're a very conceited race. I thought he was gonna do like a critters on us or something. It looked like a tribble, and then all of a sudden when you get near it, it like goes, it's nothing but like a little ball of teeth or something.
Was the only problem with the tribbles in the show that they reproduced so much?
This is off to the '60s Star Trek.
Yeah, it's the one with
Yeah.
William Shatner.
Yeah, they were just little friggin' poodle pom pom tails.
Wait,
And,
was that the one? Were tribbles the thing that was just like the Pomeranian with the horn glued on?
No, it was just a little ball of fur. It was just literally just it looked like a friggin' somebody, you know, the fuzzy sweaters that had a little fucking pom pom,
Yeah.
like the buttons or the hats. It was just like that. It was just a little fur ball. And it was the trouble with tribbles, is what it was. It was old Harry Mudd. He sold a starship tribbles, but he didn't tell them and warn them that they multiply when they eat, like gremlins or whatever. And they got into their food stores, and it just overflowed. And actually, the Star Trek, the spaceship, got them. They just got overpopulated. The only redeeming factor, other than them being cute and novelty pets, is that they're allergic to Klingons, and whenever a Klingon's around, they let out this high pitch. And that was the episode. Is it wound up trilling on one of them that. Yeah, they weren't nothing. They were just little fluff balls.
And how'd they deal with it? Did they just beam them all off the ship?
Oh yeah, that's what they had to do. Yeah, that's what when they ended up going to whoops all the tribbles. What do you mean they got into the food stores and they opened up the thing and it was just nothing, little fur balls falling and falling and falling and falling.
Did you guys ever play the Knights of the Old Republic game?
The original Xbox, yeah.
Yeah, you know those like what are they called, Zekas or something, or Zegas, or these little things that get on your ship, and they you know they were literally like these things.
Yeah.
Ghost, you're back? No, wait for it.
Deuce Bigelow.
Yeah, he's like, I'll stop the recording. It'll be fine, Ghost. We'll be right back. No, I'll stop it.
I know what's going on.
Mom, where's my magazine? We're playing. Gotta make a Shatner.
Some would find that blasphemous, I think.
Yes, I would.
Yeah, Zypher. Yes, I would.
Ian does that on purpose, asshole.
Well, it beats if he comes out in the bathroom like he's in trouble.
I mean, so that's why I don't. I'm trying. I don't. I'm trying not to assume anything about Star Trek because everything I know, almost everything I know about Star Trek, is like satire, kind of
Yeah,
like
it's all
something.
a weird.
Yeah, something kind of making fun of it, but it's still like for instance the Futurama episode, or
Yeah.
any episode of any space TV show where they make fun of Star Trek, or any parody of Star Trek.
A show where they open with the final frontier. That
Yeah.
isn't Star Trek.
Pretty much. But that being said, I have also seen like 2 movies.
Is it
Yeah,
the
the-
two newest
no,
ones?
no. Sorry, let me rephrase. 2 new ones and also 2 old ones. But I couldn't tell you which old ones. I don't remember. I was very little, and I was not interested.
Did it have a ball? Did it have a ball-headed chick over and over?
No, but I'm pretty sure there was a bald dude. But
Oh, then that must be the TNG, the fairly
Next
new,
Generation,
next
yeah.
generation one, that Picard.
The new. Well, is it the
show
newest?
me Picard's flute.
Is it the newest Star Trek movie that's like it's Spock's family and it was really dumb?
Huh? Or the Spock's family, the first one, right? When they rebooted it.
Yeah, wasn't that like really bad?
Yeah, Winona Ryder was his mom.
I guess the only reason it was bad is because none of us can believe Winona Ryder these because it makes us all feel old. That's why.
I
We
have
all think-
I have to actually go back and watch the one. What was the crossover? It had Picard versus William Shatner versus Malcolm McDowell and Whoopi
Yes.
Goldberg. And
Yes, I believe that was the last one. That was a really good one. The one with they're trying to get into the Nexus.
yeah. Because Whoopi Goldberg and Malcolm McDowell were trapped. They basically existed on all timelines.
Hmm. That's why the Google phones were called Nexus for quite some time. So for the rest of you guys, the Nexus is like this kind of a space cloud that moves from place to place on its own, and anything that in its path gets sucked in. And when you're in it, it's you are kind of living out of time, and you're reliving your best memories over and over again, and you have no sense you're reliving. So it's pretty much like you're in complete paradise.
Yeah, it's a scientific representation of actual heaven, so to speak.
Yeah, but the part that sucks is anytime this cloud interacts with matter around it, anybody from within the nexus can get pulled out and thrown into whatever was interacting. So you could get, if you come in contact with it, like say a planet comes in contact with it, then it's pulled out and thrown onto the planet or onto a spaceship. And that's where the story is kind of set.
When you say that, this is all I think of. I'll post it in the Star Trek thing.
Yeah,
Yours too
Mac.
back. Okay. Deuce has been dropped.
Mm-hmm.
We are all
had to
lighted
clear
now.
the
Mechanism.
gotta clear the jam.
Asshole swamp.
He's got a red shirt, so it makes sense.
You know what, man? I'm just gonna create like a godlike space cloud and kill all of y'all. Fuck y'all.
No,
Oh,
once again, for
I-
like, I don't know if I've said this yet, but the new movies, I really hope they keep making those because I mean, I don't know if like the hardcore Trek fans like them, but I think the new movies.
Oh shit!
Like on their own, yeah.
What do you think of Discovery and the rubber-headed orc Klingons?
I'm not watching Discovery at all. I
I
saw
kinda-
bits of it.
Yeah, I kind of like some of the story potential But yeah, overall, it's
It's
like
the
they
thing
put
I'm
every Star. To me, it's like they put every Star Trek cliche in a pinata and just took turns beating the shit out of it till all the just fell out.
I mean, they did the same thing, right? Like if you look at the William Shatner Star Trek, the Klingons never had the the whole wrinkled forehead, and then when TNG came about, they have the wrinkled foreheads. So, but the thing
Why?
is, they don't really explain it, and they just kind of leave it very ambiguous, and you are allowed to draw your own conclusions. The thing is, each
It's
of these
probably
Star Treks,
it's probably like written off as like they were always like that. We just didn't have the stuff to do it back then.
yeah,
Yeah, it was supposed to be an evolution of existing technology. Yeah.
correct. But the thing is, Star Trek, like the original one, was based in the six. It was, think about it, it was like 68, 16, 67, 68, 69, even before Star Wars actually came out. And the next one was like 90s. So there's been like 20-year gaps in between. So I mean, they keep changing stuff when they want to. No big deal.
That does make
I,
sense.
s-
Yeah.
I saw a post on Google, and it was like a Google card, and it was one of it was like a news article, and it was like five of the most obvious Star Trek rules that are completely ignored in Discovery. I didn't look at.
And send it to me when you get a chance. I want to check it out. Cool. Okay, so let's get back in. You guys walk. Oh wait, goes to recording.
I never stopped. I cut all your conversation.
Oh,
So if you guys say
okay,
anything about
perfect.
the NSA, you're
Um,
fucked.
No, we
so
talked a whole bunch of shit about you. You should listen
Oh
to
Yeah,
that.
well,
we're talking about
I
you.
have to look
Yeah,
that up.
you taking the Deuce Bigelow.
yeah, we just have to let Tet know that this part needs to be charged. Cool. So Tet, we're starting now. Okay. So you guys walk through the entrance, walk through a bunch of corridors, and finally you get here to the what looks like the central server room. And it looks pretty much the way it is on the screen. There are a few computer terminals around, and there's one central terminal in right in the middle. Power lines snaking all over the. There are two corridors, one to your left and one to your right. If you scroll down, you'll actually see them: left entrance, right entrance. Um, and The computer systems seem to be on. They are displaying readouts, and like there is um, statuses displayed of various systems. However, none of you guys don't understand any of it. It's in the script is completely alien to you. Um, what would you guys like to do at this time?
um, uh, uh, Document the writing for starters.
Okay. Stalek, you can go up ahead to the computer station, and you start looking for some ports that you can start documenting uh, the language that you see. Um, you also know
It,
that in the current timeline, there are universal translators, right? So if you met Klingon, like the fact that you and Boss can speak to each other, or um, or anybody else in your crew, is because of universal translators. If you do some history, universal translators work through the detection of brain waves, right? So you have implants in you that you detect each other's brain wave. It detects the brain waves and then translates the the the, the conversation for everyone around, so that they hear what they can understand.
oh, okay, cool.
But the problem here is that there is no visually and audio input, or if there is one, you cannot make it out because none of the systems or the buttons make sense. What you can do is hook up your tricorder and start collecting data samples, and then try and have it run through your offline universal translator.
Yeah, he'll just download some, files, some random information he can easily get a hold of, and then run that here if he can.
Perfect. So for that, give me and is anybody going to try and assist Talek in this?
Yeah, because in
Lyra,
this room, the
Lyra
language
will.
is.
Lyra will. Okay, perfect.
Or at least she'll try.
Okay.
Is this facility, the way it's designed, height-wise, and a normal man size?
Yes,
Or
yes.
is it really tall people? Or?
No, roughly a normal man size. I mean, normal man size plus like, standard additional height. Like it's not like exact.
Standard humanoid
Yeah,
size.
yeah,
Yeah,
standard
nothing
humanoid.
giant or shorter.
No. The computer panels and the keyboards and everything are at a height that you all can reach and stand and work, and not like you're not kind of feeling out of sorts.
Keyboards have quite a few buttons, or are they like large buttons? Trying to figure out like digit wise, maybe these if it's made for a 2-3 finger hand, or if it's made for a standard hand, 4 to 6 digits. Or...
Visually it seems very humanoid like. You can't make out, as in it's not something very like, it's not like, oh, it's a two-fingered humanoid. Like it's
Yeah.
definitely fingered. There seems to be something that would make sense ergonomically for an opposable thumb. um,
Okay.
you know but you can run a more thorough check through a task if you like.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think, as an engineer, everything structurally would be his first keymost visual input was,
Okay.
what is this designed for?
Okay, perfect. So let me do one thing. You guys have no momentum from all the last one. So first let's start with Stalik and Lyra. Stalik, give me a science plus insight with a task difficulty of 2 and no focus applies. Lyra, you can assist. mm, it would be um, science plus reason for you. Science plus reason for you.
And computers.
And computers as a focus. Roll a single d20 as this is an assist.
Is it one difficulty?
In your case, it's one difficulty. Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Perfect. This is actually perfect. Awesome. Boss, I want you to roll um, uh, insight plus engineering of task difficulty 1.
Any applicable, or if it's all alien, no focuses.
Right now, no focuses. Perfect. Okay. So, Stalik, you are able to successfully download information from the system onto your tricorder and successfully start decoding it and translating it into a language that the federation. Lyra helps you successfully with it. How does that role play out?
I would assume there's parts during the download that he starts like having complications, getting errors because
No. The complication is going to come in pretty soon. But as far as the data download and everything, that works perfectly fine.
Right. At first, he asks for Salas to come over and get her knowledge on the computer side of it, and then with her assistance, he's able to get what he needs.
Excellent.
And then she does whatever she does.
What does Lyra do?
Oh, Lyra.
Yeah, it was like, and I rolled on Salus. Think like,
That's fine. You
yeah,
still made it, right? So it's fine.
yeah, she still did it. She would have totally done it because Salus is 12 and Lyra's
Right.
14.
Okay.
We're trying to translate it. Is that what we're doing?
Yes. So basically, you see Stalek basically walk up to the computer system and hook up his tricorder. He finds a data port, and initially he plugs it into a data port that he thinks is the one that he's supposed to use, um, not the exact one. So what happens there?
Before he can get it plugged in, Lyra will look over and go, "It's not that one." And she walks over, and she flips open one of the panels on the side of the base console, and she looks over all the ports and then points. Try this one. You should probably actually get information out of it.
And he graciously plugs it in.
So you plug it in, you get your information out, and you unplug it, and your tricorder starts munching on the data to see if it can. And while that is going on, um, something about the process you guys follow to get the data didn't quite sit right to the system, and it starts. So it gives two beeps like that, and then all the blue outline on the screen that you see, they all turn to red, and over the speakers, it starts kind of speaking in some alien language that you're unclear. Um, while that is happening, boss, you are able to successfully uh, determine that what all keypads can do. You don't know what they mean, but you kind of get the sense that these could be related to power control. These could be related to like sending actual programs to the computer, and these uh, will help you get status or do other sorts of miscellaneous tasks.
I'm starting to get an understanding of it.
Yeah, I mean, what I mean to say is you get the macro understanding. You know that, okay, given how an engineering system is built, these set of inputs or controls will affect, like, say, power, or these set of controls are the actual keypad for the computer, and you can send commands to the computer. These will, like, maybe cycle the screens or cycle the various sensor relays that you have in the system, so on and so forth. But
Is
you
there,
don't know what.
I was about to say, is there a language setting on them you change? Like,
Correct. So when you say that, Stalek, you will now have the ability to um, uh, your tricorder has processed all the language.
Yeah, and it's something recognizable or it's something known.
Yes, I mean, it is not like the language itself is not known, but your tricorder has
Is able to
assimilated,
translate it. Right.
translated, right? And um, I would say, like, activate something that everybody's tricorder, and you are able to all understand the language that is being displayed on the screen, and in the process also what the computer is saying, because, like, Stalek rolled a complication, and you guys heard that alert beep kind of um, kind of give a klaxon alert beep in the process. um, Boss, you know what all the controls mean now, the that happened from Stalek's tricorder.
definitely want to try to bring up to see if uh first off, see if there's any way to look for a security feed and maybe what the hell that beep just meant. Like if there's some command being issued or some shit like that.
Sure. So I want to keep the task at a minimum. I don't want to do it. So you now know what each of these keys mean, and you kind of gingerly, you don't kind of, you don't, your fingers don't go flying across the keyboard. You
Yeah.
take your time to input a sequence. and then the red outlines and all the computer screens still remain. You get the sense that it is on alert. Um, you see that the security feeds, you're able to get to the security feeds and various video angles of this installation. Everything seems to be empty. It has a few cameras on the outside where you guys entered in near the
Yeah.
waterfall, and everything seems to be fine. Around the same time, the computer kind of responds, and it's kind of like clipped and little wobbled. Welcome. Who are you?
Uh, taken back by this and just look around for a commanding officer and realize all of the same rank. Says, I am Boss Hog, Planet Talarian.
Boss Hog, Planet Tolarian.
Identify yourself, please.
You can see that it's kind of processing and
Oh, old school.
yeah, and input does not compute. Unable to identify Boss Hog. My identification is computer. I of this installation.
Great, we're working with malfunctioning. Look around to y'all, see if y'all have any ideas. I have a couple ideas of who to
I
ask
would,
for.
I would, if I see it, I'll walk over and um define the purpose of this installation.
Purpose of installation is transportation. Mm, transport flora and fauna to new.
And Myra will speak up and she'll go, "No."
Yes, new Wahar, destination
So,
of this ship.
Computer, identify begin date to said mission.
Cannot recall begin date. Destination New Wahar. Flora and fauna to New Wahar.
computer, where is Old Wahar?
And you guys kind of see the screen kind of cycle, and it shows you a like a what do you call a space map,
Yeah.
and you guys can clearly see where Old Wahar was. This came from. That was where you guys were uh, cataloging the neutron star and the supernova.
Where it thinks it is, at least.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Computer display coordinates for New Ahar.
And screen again kind of cycles, and you guys now see that the new Wahar is about 20 light years away um, from the supernova and the location of old Wahar. If the supernova is, say, in the center of the screen, then new Wahar is to the right of the screen.
And we intercepted this years away from the anomaly.
You guys intercepted this about, say, 6 or 7 light years away from the anomaly. In roughly, I mean, space direction is kind of weird, right? But to give some sense, basically the opposite direction of New Wahar.
Well, the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
So it got blasted off before it got blasted back, it sounds like.
Computer,
So they
what was
sent
the let's see. Give a report of the crew roster for this ship.
Crew roster number 10, leader, rank, captain.
computer. Do you have access to the status of the crew?
Status restricted. Only crew members can request status of other crew members.
Trying to think on my feet here.
Salis stands up and she walks over and she goes, "Computer, register new crew member."
Hmm?
Just
And
trying to go for.
and you suddenly start feeling like there are some sensors kind of scanning you, Salis, and after some time you hear these and then finally subject is not Wahari, not Wahari, cannot be true member.
And Salis turns to Stalik and she goes, well, she just turns to anybody and she goes, "So, does anybody know what a Wahari looks like?"
We could ask. Computer, show us the physical appearance of a Wahari.
And the screen quickly cycles and you see a humanoid being on the screen, roughly the same height and dimensions of a human, but the skin is blue, like almost teal in color, bipedal, um, fingers, etc., match humanoid numbers. um, uh, there does not seem to be like the facial features are very androgynous.
Well, we haven't seen anything like that, but let's let's get something at least useful
And
from this. Computer,
all the screens, all the screen light is still, is it red or is it blue
It's
again?
red,
Okay.
yeah. And you
But it
guys
was
have
blue
clearly,
when we got in here.
yes, it was blue when you got in here, and then the moment that first complication came in, it went into red. And then there were certain things that you guys did, and you guys heard that danger klaxon. So you would know and training that there are certain things that you may not want to do, and you don't know what kind of security status this computer system is now in.
Given our current location, are there any star bases close?
The closest star base would be Narendra Station, and that would be um, at like at warp. It would take you there maybe maybe a week to get to Narendra Station.
So Narendra is the station. The captain of this ship is what?
Sorry,
You said the captain. He identified the captain of this vessel as what? What was his name?
Zalus.
Zalus
Hmm.
Narendra.
No. Wait, hold on. What are you saying? Like, what is the closest star base?
Yeah,
So the closest star base would be a Federation star base, right? That would be Narendra Station where you landed initially.
yeah. I'm coming up with an attempt, and I'm just trying to get the right answer. So Narendra Station, um, Captain Zalus was the captain of this facility, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you're not asking this to the computer, right? About Narendra Station?
No, not currently.
Ah,
I'm trying
okay.
trying to
Okay.
come up with a makeshift.
Mhm.
Let's go. Computer, you're obviously in list damaged components and working systems.
No damage detected. All systems operating nominally within parameter. On course for New Bahar. Forest is under nominal maintenance. All parameters match program.
Computer, expand diagnostics to ship exterior.
Unable to comply. Unable to comply.
Computer, access orbit.
Unable to comply.
Computer, provide interior layout map, please.
And there's some processing again. And you guys see the ship layout now fully on the screen. There are basically the entire disk is just a huge forest. The spindles are basically there are like stairs and Jeffrey's tubes that lead to the bottom, and there seems to be engine rooms at the top and bottom of the spindle. There are um, at some other location on the disk there seem to be um, crew quarters and uh, those seem to be completely like empty. There is like personal effects. Like you can see like videos and schematics, and there seem to be some personal effects, but nothing of like there's nobody boss, I want you to make an engineering plus insight roll with task difficulty 1. um, and with and apply your electroplasma power systems focus. Perfect. This is coming towards you.
Hmm. Kind of frown a little bit and go. Computer, reinstigate diagnostic. Talking about for damaged circuits and stuff like that.
Unable to comply. Unable to comply. So to kind of summarize, the computer is operational but doesn't seem to have all its faculties about itself. Um, it is in some sort of um, like it was blue when you guys came in. Now it's red, so it is um, a little on the alert. Um, to most of your queries about information, but anything to do with sensors, diagnostics, self repair, all of that seem to kind of end up with like either a deny or cannot process.
So is this computer is attached to a wall, right, with panels underneath of it?
This would be the central computer here, but you get the sense that this is the main computer, at least the main interface to the computer core. More panels here for statuses and other things, but this would be the main one.
Yeah, this thing's
Could we
probably
get access to the inside of the computer?
doing that. You threaten ruining the forest, though, I'm pretty sure.
I want Lyra to roll me mm, a science plus reason with the focus of um, and you have 2 momentum from boss. Um,
What we do?
yeah, you do have 2 momentum. So science plus reason with computers as the focus with the task difficulty of 2.
I'm gonna spend the momentum.
Okay. For
Yes. There we go.
beautiful. Um, and okay, so you now guys have 3 momentum. Perfect. So Lyra, you know that most computer systems have a way to um, like a factory reset, right? That
Yeah, that's what
that
I was thinking.
yeah, that never changes irrespective of which uh, millennium the followed by a reset generally works.
All right. So she walks over and she goes, "Computer factory reset code 000."
And the moment you say that, uh, it says code does not match factory reset attempted by non-crew member, installation under attack. And with that, we shall stop today's session.
Gonna be attacked by ghosts.
Ghost.
What? Oh.
No, I was saying we're gonna be attacked by ghosts.